The perfect American lawn. This is what we perceive as our goal in life, a place to gather together, to celebrate, to barbecue. It must be an identical, luscious green with no weeds or pests inhabiting it, perfect and flawless. Why do we strive for this urbanized model? Why is it drilled into us that it is best to have a lawn looking like this? Lawns take lots of time, energy, and money to keep up. Is it necessary to have this in order to achieve the American dream? Perhaps not. The American idea of the perfect lawn comes from our European values and ideals. We wanted to tame the wild, and lawns were one way to do it. During the 18th century, the term lawn meant a portion of garden or pleasure ground covered with grass and kept closely mown. American immigrants brought with them these traditional garden styles and techniques. George Washington's Mount Vernon, for instance, which was created by an English landscape gardener, was the ideal lawn. When early settlers first came to America, the only way they had to control their lawns were to use a scythe to cut it or sheep and cattle to graze it down. In the 30s, artificially colored grass became popular to use instead of fertilizer. Others in the 50s and early 60s used colored gravel, moss, ivy, sandwort, and fungus. Around the time of World War II, the suburban aesthetic called for lawns to be green all year. Golf turf needed to be as well so that it was pleasing to the eye. In 1940, it was more common to use fertilizer to keep the grass greener in color. Also during this time was the development of the commercial use of DDT. DDT was hailed the killer of killers, the atomic bomb of the insect world. In 1962, Rachel Carson published Silent Spring, which is about the impacts of chemicals on the environment. She warned that synthetic pesticides had grown too heavily used for the good of the environment. Her warnings led to the eventual ban of DDT, but not of all the chemicals available. This war between man and nature continues to this day.
Since the reel mower was introduced in the early 19th century, along with grass seeds and public water, lawn care has come down to a matter of time and money. Rural, suburban, and public city lawns require a certain amount of management. American lawns have become the public responsibility of state and homeowners. A well-kept front lawn has become a staple attribute in many American communities. A row of tidy, well-kept lawns down a street is seen as American. Keeping a tidy front lawn became a social obligation to your community. Advertising has helped to push a groomed lawn into the mainstream. The lawn can be a place to socialize with neighbors and family. Games to grill out, the lawn has to be taken care of. Along with the outside of the house, the lawn has become associated with social status.
Have you ever stopped to consider what impact you're making on the environment whenever you take care of your lawn? Probably not. But did you know, according to statistics provided by the Environmental Protection Agency, operating a lawn mower for an hour emits just as much pollution as a car that is driven for about 20 miles. And that's just one example. But perhaps the most important issue regarding the environmental impacts of lawn care is the overindulgent use of fertilizers and pesticides. This is especially true of water pollution. Fertilizers and pesticides contain potentially dangerous phosphates and nitrates that can get into groundwater and other drinking water. Some birth defects and cancers have been attributed to this type of water pollution. Nutrient runoff can also have negative effects on aquatic ecosystems. It can result in algae blooms, eventually depleting oxygen in the water, which kills off aquatic wildlife. Also the risk that we could become dependent on fertilizers and pesticides as insects slowly become more resistant to them. It could come to the point that our plants will become dependent on pesticides to survive. You may be thinking, I have just one small yard, what's the big deal? This map shows the most concentrated areas of turf grass alone located in the U.S. It is estimated that there are over 30 million acres of land in America dedicated to lawns. That's roughly the size of the country Greece. Now that you have seen and heard some of the environmental impacts, does it make you rethink the perfect American lawn?